everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Comic Corner, where we do news, reviews, and interviews. And today we have a very special interview for you all. We are joined by a friend of the show, Murewa Ayodele, the writer of the incredible Storm series, one of my favorite people out there. Murewa, how are you doing today, my friend? Thanks so much for coming back.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. But I think Iron Man might be a little jealous if you're giving Storm the incredible title and Hulk as well.
Hey, man, she deserves it. I don't know what's better than incredible, phenomenal, astounding, any word you can think of. Storm fits the bill because this series is just so damn good. We have been talking about it on our weekly show pretty much every issue, and I really think that this last two issues, I don't want to put myself like make myself more important than I am, but I really feel like you wrote these just for me, Murewa, because these have everything that I love.
Thank you.
I love where we're going with this, and so I have a lot of questions for you. And I mean, let's just get right into it.
As you
If
should.
people tuning
Yeah.
in, exactly. People tuning in, if you're watching or listening to this, you can go check out our previous interview to hear all about the first couple issues of Storm and Murewa's comic origin story, if you will. We went deep into all that. So you can go check that out. So this interview, we are getting straight down to business. And one of the first questions I have for you, which is kind of a personal, selfish question for me, but I have to ask you about the Black Winter. One of my favorite things that everyone seems to have forgotten about, but you have not. And so, my first question for you is, where the hell did that come from? Like, obviously, we're dealing a lot with Oblivion. We're dealing a lot with like the cosmic entities. Storm is now the avatar or Eternity. So, where did the idea for the black to bring in the Black Winter come from? And also, I wanted to ask if you could maybe elaborate a little bit on the title that you gave it as an Ender. And you said in the book that Enders have to pass through the Oblivion Void, and many Enders have died trying to do that. So I was wondering if you could unpack that a little bit.
Okay. I think firstly, I think at this point, there's no point keeping it secret. I'm a big fan of Donny Cates, like as a writer and everything. And like all the way from God Country to everything. And the reason why I fell in love with his work so deeply was because I think at the time a lot of comic books I loved them, but they particularly had this one flavor that I think everybody was praising at the time, a critical acclaim and things like that. You know, works like Jeff Lemire's The Century, works like Ryan Knott's Squirrel Girl. I love them, but it seemed like that was the only thing that was getting the critical acclaims. Things that were doing like, oh yeah, it's a superhero stuff, but the superhero stuff is in the background. We focus more on their day-to-day lives. And I think at that time, to me, because I was still kind of new to comics, Donny Cates seemed like the one that wasn't afraid to tackle those big superhero stuff and lean on it and lean into it. And those background stuff wasn't even 50-50, like let's say Spider-Man comic. They were like full on background, sometimes not even touched at all. And you lean fully into the cosmic stuff, the superhero stuff, and he still finds a way to make it extremely emotional. So I was like, okay, so I fell in love with his work. And that led me all the way to his Thor run. With everyone that know Donny Cates know that, yeah, it was the one that was like to take over after Jason Aaron. So, and the first story arc was centered around the Black Winters and the Black Winter. So, and I loved that concept completely. So when it was time, when I was working on the Storm series, um, it came up again in my mind. Like, I want to do something with this concept, and it's like, yeah, but you know, it's been destroyed, and I'm like, okay, what if there isn't one of them? The entire concept of the entire concept of the Black Winter.
Whoa.
the
Dude,
entire
I don't mean to cut you off, but you just blew my
I
freaking
get
mind with that. Holy shit.
yeah, because the entire concept of the Black Winter is it's almost like in relation to like heralds, like oh you had Silver Surfer, Silver Surfer to Galactus, Galactus to the Black Winter, and it's like yeah, Galactus has numerous characters that have been heralds, so yeah, so and in a particular story by in Fantastic Four that we had Abraxas involved. We've seen that there isn't one Galactus either. We've been
Yeah.
led to believe like there's only one Galactus, like, oh, this universe died. He's not even
Mhm.
from this universe. But we also find that there are numerous Galactus. So if there are numerous Galactus, there isn't one Black Winter.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so there's going to be multiple Black Enders from all that logic. So that's
Mhm.
problem one. So and then the next thing is, how does it tie in into Storm? You can't just like bring a character in. How does it tie in into Storm? And I'm like, okay, this character, even though he's linked to Galactus, was brought into a Thor book. Thor is a storm god. What if a lot of people criticized him, like Donny Cates then, like why bring in the old Black Winter and say that Galactus is an herald? It feels somehow, and I'm like, okay, why did he name it something like Black Winter? And I was thinking about, and I was like, because it's a weather phenomenon, and it's coming up in a storm god's book.
It's perfect.
Yeah, what if a storm god created them? The way Thor or Storm can create lightning and winters and summer. What if there is this primordial storm god that can create wrath storms? And those wrath storms are the Black Winters. And I'm like,
Oh my
the
gosh,
storm god
dude. You're
that
a
will be
freaking
that powerful.
genius.
Like the storm god that will be that powerful has to be like the first storm god. And I do my research. I'm like, okay, who's the first storm god? We don't have a definitive answer in Marvel Comics. We have Toranos, but Toranos is an elder god that's is in the family of Oshtor and Cthulhu and the rest.
Gaia
So
and
I
all
need
that.
yeah, so I need one that's a god. So when I went through, written history, the oldest one that we know is the Mesopotamian culture, and their storm god was Baal Adad, Lord Adad. So I decided to go with Adad. Find out that it doesn't have that much history in Marvel Comics, so it's something that I can create my own history around him. So and yeah, and it was also fun to play with because in also real life history, there's a fierce kind of battle in that culture because it was the most popular god there, and later Yahweh replaced him as the prominent god and stayed the prominent god. You know, and we all know that the one above all is inspired by Yahweh. So thinking of someone that would beat him, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's going to be the one above all. So just playing around with all that and trying to connect it in Marvel history and see how it's all connects in Marvel history. That was the goal.
Well, you freaking succeeded, man. You're like I said, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that just blew my mind in so many levels because I am obviously also a big Donny Cates fan as well. His Thor run is impeccable, amazing, and like I
Cosmic
said,
Ghost
when
Rider.
yes, Cosmic Ghost Rider, I really enjoy him and Ryan Otley's Hulk miniseries as well, but Black Winter, like yourself, was one of the most interesting concepts to me. And it was something I always felt like there was so much rich history there to be played with, and like no one even mentioned it afterwards, and I'm just like waiting for the day that someone would bring it back. So I'm so glad that you did. And again, just the idea that there's multiple of them, I think is just a great example of how your creative mind works, because I never even considered that. I mean, I'm pretty sure in Thor's run from Donny Cates, the Silver Surfer says that the Black Winter can never be like fully destroyed, like it is just kind of a thing. So I always have thought, like my own thought process has always been like, again, that it is out there somewhere in some form. But to take that even further and, like you said, make them multiple of them is just, I can't wait. We could just end this interview right here, because I need to like collect myself just thinking of all the possibilities. And you led perfectly into my next question, because I have to ask you about Haddad. But before we just really quickly, because I'm sure you can't say anything about this. Again, kind of a more selfish
Mm-hmm.
question for me. But can you tell us anything at all about what the hell is going on with Silver Surfer? And also, can you just tell me, is Bill okay? Like, you don't have to tell me like what he's gonna do. Is he okay though? Because that's my boy. But if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, beginning of Storm 7 shows Silver Surfer grabs Twilight, Surtur's sword that Bill is now in possession of, and he becomes the Silver Surfer Soot to battle the Black Winter. And so, again, is there anything you can tell us of what's going on over there? Or is that, like,
Okay.
I know we will get to it in the story, but is that
Yeah.
just all hush hush right now?
I'll say the real life thing and then the story thing, just like Black Winter. The real life thing is again also a big fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, and I love this Beta Ray Bill run. The miniseries basically ended with him ending up with Soto's The Twilight Blade, and the Twilight Blade also showed up in Donny Cates' Thanos Wins, and but it's some people remember to draw him with that sword, sometimes they don't, and it seems like nobody's using that sword. And I'm like, I really find this sword really cool, especially the version that Daniel Warren Johnson draws. Sometimes it's just drawn as just this flaming sword, but Daniel Warren
Yeah.
Johnson doesn't make it flaming. It's like just this heavy smoke that just releases huge amount of smoke and soot. And I'm like, okay, if you guys don't want him with Beta Ray Bill, I'm going to take him if I'm allowed to use Silver Surfer,
Please,
and I'm going to give it
please
to
take
Silver
him,
Surfer.
Murewa. Please.
so
Please.
so that was the real world one for that. So that's why I did that for Silver Surfer. But for Beta Ray Bill, story wise, Beta Ray Bill is going to show up in Storm 11 and Storm 12. Um Basically because obviously it's Thunder War, and if there's going to be war amongst the Thunder Gods, it's going to be one of them.
Dude,
I get
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much, because I mean, I please take Bill. Please. Tom Brevoort, Marvel, anyone who can hear me, please give Murewa a bill, cuz same thing with Donny Cates's run is Daniel Warren Johnson. That is one of, anyone watching, listening to this, go read that right now. It's probably one of my favorite series in years, decade.
yeah,
And again,
yeah.
it's something that like no one has touched on. Like, it's just like, yeah, Bill did that cool ass thing, and like, that's it. And so I'm so glad that, while it's not, you're not writing a Better Ray Bill book yet, I'm just glad that you've included him and are, giving us a little bit more of that. Because again, that was such a huge moment, and especially if anyone out there is a Better Ray Bill or Thor fan, it just felt like we hit such a peak, and then it was just like we didn't go down, but we're just kind
No,
of
we didn't go that way.
stagnant.
It's
Yeah,
like,
we're just kind of
yeah,
stagnant up
we've not
here.
done much with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
it's
So
it's one of
go
the
ahead.
beauty of
Sorry.
comics. Yeah, it's one of the
Hmm.
beauty of comics. It's there's a run, then someone does another run, but in the third run, someone likes what happened in the first run, somebody uses it, but in the fourth run,
Mhm.
someone likes the one in the second run, so, and then it gets recalled. It's sometimes it's not like, oh yeah, the second always takes from the first. Sometimes it has to be
Mhm.
like the third run that will take from the first. So it's perfectly normal, and I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, it's like literally like a Jenga puzzle or something, like just fitting all the
Yeah.
little pieces together, which I think you do so fantastically well, both in Marvel mythology and real world mythology, which leads us into Hadad, because, again, this is one of the major things I want to talk to you about. Again, just the creativity and the avenues in which your mind goes down. Because, again, I'm a huge, obviously huge comic nerd myself. I'm very much into like the lore of the universe. So I have just kind of, just for fun, just kind of had thought processes of like, okay, well, if we have one above all, and then the mother of horrors is this, and then we also, what I mean, just like the kind of hierarchy in that. So
It's fun.
I this guy is just I love everything about him. I mean, I know he seems like a very bad dude, but he's pretty freaking cool. So we introduced this new storm god, or like the storm god, if you would. And his name, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, is Baal Hadad, and he is originally a Mesopotamian god. But I was doing a little research on my own, and it seems like the same Hadad went through multiple different regions. And so I saw in Egypt, a lot of people think that Horus is based off Hadad, and then that also translated later into Greek mythology for
Into
Zeus.
Zeus. Yeah.
So
So that's
this, so the real mythology, like just like in the book, like you said, he is like the original storm god. All these other storm gods kind of came
what
from
cut
him.
from the same cloth. Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah, like
Just
you said,
like
cut from the
so
same
just
piece of thunder, if you would. So
yeah.
I want to get a little, or see if I can get a little bit more out of you on this. But I saw that you were talking about how you created Hadad, or chose to use him rather, because originally you wanted Thunder War to be a kind of crossover between pretty much all of my favorite books: Immortal Thor, Scarlet Witch, and the Phoenix. And
Yeah.
so, knowing that, you wanted to bring in a villain or a god that would be able to take all four of them on. So you
Yeah.
came up with Hadad, and in the book you describe him as the first storm god who wove eternity as his cloak, death as his club, and wore the phoenix as his armor, with eternity as his shield. So anyone out there, you kind of get an idea of how bad this dude is.
The
But I
power
want to ask
scale.
you, now that things have shifted from that original blueprint, you also talked about how that was a very creative challenge for you, because now Storm is going to have to face this on her own, which I think also
Yeah.
beautifully plays into the story that you're already telling. So obviously you can't get into spoilers of exactly how she is going to do it, but how is Storm now going to approach this problem without having this backup?
Yeah. Yeah. So that, like you said, I think it's my bad. I'm still new in comics. I think I should have reached out to the creators first before reaching out to the editors. And but I was noticing some, little threads even in the current continuity, eternity showing up in the Phoenix book. The fact that eternity and the Never Queen are basically lovers, and the Never Queen is basically the patron of Scarlet Witch, you know, and in Immortal Thor is linked with Storm because they are, Thunder siblings, and he has also faced Oblivion recently, and everything seemed like we could create like this saga of it. So I wanted to pitch something like, House and Powers of X, where each of us would tell like a 5-issue story that each of the creators and the creative team we handle. But if you read them all, you will see that they intertwine and gradually tell the story of how each of them, maybe across time, across space, across dimensions, gradually weaken Haddad and were able to defeat him in the long run. So that was the original pitch. So
Oh
it
my
wasn't for me to
gosh.
write every. It wasn't for me to write everything. I think I thought some people think that, like, oh my god, he's so, is this egomaniac? He wants to write the whole all this character. Like, nah, it's like everybody gets to write down. You can borrow characters, you can
Hmm.
borrow, like I can borrow the Phoenix and stuff, but it's like all these bright minds, because the pitch was basically saying that in a lot of Marvel events, these four characters in particular always get nerfed because they're just so powerful. They could
Hmm.
basically end the event. In
Yeah.
Civil War, Thor wasn't there. A clone of him basically ended it, by killing Goliath.
Hmm.
Um, in some other events, some that are recent, they're the ones that are taken down first. And
Yeah.
things like that. It's like, what if we have an event that if Iron Man steps into this ring, is dead? If anybody else tries this, they are dead. It's only these four characters, the most powerful superheroes in on Earth, in Marvel comics. These are the only ones that can handle these threats. So that was the original plan. So, but I think
I
I
need a
pitched it
time
too late.
machine. I need a time machine
I
right
know, right?
now because this is like when I learned that the Kirby Fourth World was originally going to be a Ragnarok story. Like this is kind of like the same feeling I have right now because
Yeah.
I need that so bad, dude. Oh my gosh.
So that was the thing, like, what, how is eternity like manipulating all these people and everything. So, but they're still going to feature in Thunder War, Scarlet Witch, Phoenix, and Beta Ray Bill.
Yes, yes. Let's go.
So, but it won't be this 20 issue epic as
Yeah.
it was. So it's 3 issues, but it doesn't lose that intensity. In fact, it just has this laser focus thing, and it showcases that in this beautiful way and sets up a bigger story to come. So it's crazy stuff. So, and again, it made everything interesting, like I said, like, now I'd created this monster in Adad, someone that could basically defeat all these abstract beings,
Hmm.
that only the one above all could beat. And now Storm has to be the only one to face her alone. And getting to go all metaphysical about that, from solicitation of issue 11, you already see that eternity basically abandons the universe out of fear to go and meet the one above all, like, please save me,
Please.
and I see someone cracked a joke, like, Adad got eternity going back to his dad, so
Literally.
so yeah, so how would that conversation go, how would that conversation between the universe and its maker, how would it go, so yeah, it's very epic, it's very grand. um there's little I can say. It Storm does get a little bit of help, but yeah, all I can say is it's going to be grand, it's going to be epic. The Thunder Gods will feature heavily. Some abstract beings will feature heavily. Like some that they've only showed up in a Fantastic Four comic. Different ones like that. It's going to be very, very fun. um yeah, it's exciting stuff. Like, when I finished writing it, and when I started getting pages from Lucas and Mario, I was basically like, yeah, screaming in my room and everything, because these are visuals you've never seen before, you know things you've never imagined you would see. There's like a scene where there's a council room, and Beta rebuilt Slarlock, Sugar, some of all these Thunder Gods in the council room, and they are talking, and Beta rebuild has to give a threat to Susano, and threaten him that, I will smash you in the face. I know those kind of things.
Ooh.
And it's I'm like, oh
Oh,
my god,
yes.
and,
Oh.
and you see each of them with their iconic weapons, Susanoo's sword and Beta Ray Bill's, Stormbreaker, and
Mhm.
it's just so, Zeus with his harp, we're just using the thunderbolts now. We're using the harp, this curved hook thing that
Mhm.
his father used, his father, the Titan, Kronos,
Kronos, yeah.
used, yeah, which he got from, which was the one he used to fight um Typhon.
Mhm.
So that's the weapon he has there, and so many of these things, there's we introduced this new realm that is like the the like the realm that every god is allowed to, like this realm that all of them have agreed that, this is a neutral zone for everyone,
Like a meeting
you know
room.
and yeah, so, and that's the realm for where all the gods are there, and Zeus has to be the one to, like, hold
Yeah.
that meeting, so
So are we
it's
talking?
just, it's grand stuff, really grand stuff.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm losing my mind over here. I'm trying to keep myself composed for the camera, but I'm losing my shit because this is amazing. And so, I just to clarify with my nerd brain, are we talking realm in the sense of like 11th realm? Like, so we have the nine, 10 realms, like a whole 11th realm, or just kind of like a realm in the sense of like not in like our reality?
um Realm, almost like, in an old Thor book, where Thor has actually asked for help of thunder gods before,
Hmm.
and he goes to Orun. That's the realm of the Orishas. Each of
Okay.
these each of these pantheons
Hmm.
have their realms. So it's those kind of realms, not
Okay,
like
yeah,
the 10th realms of the Asgardian ninth realm
yeah.
thing.
There's too many realms, man. We need a new we need a new term for like the different.
Nomenclature kind of thing.
Yeah, we need a
Yeah.
new term. But
You
this
have
is just
realm, you have dimension, you
yeah,
have
realm,
everything.
dimension,
It's
astral
crazy now.
planes, and freaking I, don't- I don't know, man. There's too much going on, but I think while like I said, that original crossover event is something that I have dreamed of and will continue to dream of. I honestly think that it probably is going to work out better in the end having because like I said, I feel like it works just perfectly with the story that you have already set up with Storm. Like her having
Yeah.
to go and face this threat that was supposed to be like all of them, but now she has to do it alone. I feel like that's perfectly fits in the kind of theme that you've been going with Storm and this whole connection with eternity and everything. And I want to ask you a little bit about the Storm, these other Storm gods as well, but just another very quick kind of question because you kind of alluded to, and this is something that I have been pondering, theorizing about. So, as far as you know, at least, or as you know, from your perspective, there's no kind of consorted effort, at least right now, between like you, Stephanie Phillips, Al Ewing, because I have been saying for a long time, it seems like it is not a coincidence that all of these massive cosmic things are going on simultaneously. Like you said, we have the elder gods and the Utgard gods over in Thor. So like we talked about Tyrannos, Gaia, the demiurge, all of that. We have Phoenix over in the cosmos, who's like basically just creation now, and she's doing all
Yeah.
this crazy stuff. And we have, which I think a lot of people aren't even considering or even thinking about, but we have all this stuff going on with Hulk and the Mother of Horrors, which the
Even
Mother of
Miles
Horrors,
Morales.
yes, Miles Morales. I mean, the Mother of Horrors is like the one thing that was not created by the one above all. And I feel like no one is really like understanding how massive that is. So,
That
I
is.
mean, that's a conversation for a whole other day. But again, so from where you're at right now, though, it's not like y'all are having group chats together, and it just is, it is kind of just a weird kind of coincidence that all these things are kind of happening.
I think, I think it's like when it's like during the World War, and a lot of other creators back then were telling stories that were like pointing in the same direction. I think that
Mhm.
might be what's happening here. Maybe because of what's happening around us, maybe because of the entertainment we are consuming or
Mhm.
something. It seems like we're all pushing it, pushing the stories in one direction. And what's so lovely about it is that it's all so freaking consistent, like it's
Yeah, it all
perfectly coordinated.
fits.
So yeah, and that might just be like me, because that might be above my pay grade. Maybe Tom Brevoort is cooking something that I don't
Yeah,
know,
he's
that they've
secretly
been
like just
coordinating
like
it. So yeah, so the editors might be cooking up stuff, I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but everything seems to be pointing towards something. Yeah, and I hope there's a payoff. I can't wait for that payoff. That payoff is going to be crazy.
Me either. And I knew even if there was something in the works, you couldn't talk about it. But again, I just feel like I've been like I feel like I'm the only one who's like noticing this. And like, is no one picking up on like that
No,
we
I
have
don't.
two
I
cosmic entities that are like possessing X-Men right now, and meanwhile we
Mhm.
have the Utgard gods are coming out to play. I don't like, it just seemed like very much too much of a coincidence. So my first opportunity to ask one of y'all who are dealing with this cosmic stuff, I had to be like, yo, what are y'all planning something? Are y'all pulling the wool over our eyes? But I think it's a really great point that you bring up, though, is that it seems like, while yes, we all hope that it all kind of converges, which I think it's impossible not for some of this stuff at least not to come together, but it just kind of shows like where storytelling is at right now, and especially like within the Marvel universe of where creators' minds are kind of going. And it seems like a lot of you are kind of converging on sort of similar ideas. And speaking of converging, that brings us, I think, perfectly into the Thunder War. So we're going to be beginning it in issue 9, really cooking in issue 10. And we've already kind of talked a little bit about this, but so, like we've said, the Thunder War is going to be a culmination of all these different Thunder gods, basically a Thunder God civil war. So we mentioned Hadad, and it's basically some Thunder gods are cool with him and some really are not. And wherever you fall on this line is where is going to decide where you're at on this war. So you've
Mhm.
brought in a lot of different thunder gods here. And so we right now at least we have Shango, which is from West Africa. We have Susanu no Mikoto, which, forgive me for butchering these names because I probably will, but Japanese god of sea and storm. We have Chak, the Mayan god of rain, thunder, and lightning. And obviously, we have our boy, the big boy, Hadad. But when you were coming up with your army, if you would, for the Thunder War, how did you go about even just picking? Like, obviously, you wanted to pull from real mythology, so like,
Mhm.
Google Japanese thunder god or whatever. But was there any rhyme or reason to the specific ones that you picked? And I know that we just kind of talked about this, but you always try to keep it within Marvel as much as you can as well. So was there a rhyme or reason to the specific ones you picked, or did you just kind of pick some of your favorites, some you thought would be interesting?
um the issue 7, I think. Yeah, issue 7, where we have serpents, salamanders, and storm gods, where we debut Shango, Susano, and Mamarangan, and the likes. That one was basically to showcase to the audience, like, this is what this pantheon is capable of. This is what Thunder War. This is the greatness. This, let me give you a taste of what to expect in Thunder War. And for that one, and it's also because it's also an anniversary issue. It's also to kind of celebrate like the legacy of Giant Size X-Men. I know Giant Size X-Men is basically, oh yeah, we pick an X-Men from each continent. and so that was mostly the motive for that one. Picking a popular storm god from each continent that we know that should be able to move numbers. So but there's also another criteria that we've been using so far, and it's there's this thing in mythology that a lot of storm gods in their stories are linked somehow to a serpent. Amadioha is also another African god. um I think he always a serpent is always with him. There's another one in East Africa, I've forgotten his name. He battles with a serpent. um there's Hadad,
Hmm.
also battles with Lotan. Zeus, Typhon, Susano, Yamato no Orochi, um, Seth, also from Africa, battles with a
Hmm.
serpent. Suga is a serpent, or is a serpent. Chak,
Hmm.
when he creates rain, serpents. So we also went with thunder gods that have serpents linked to their mythology,
Interesting. I mean,
because
Thor and the Midgard serpent.
y-
I never even
yeah,
put that together. That's super interesting.
yeah. So Thor, exactly. So, and the reason why we went with the ones that are linked to serpents in one form or the other is because the big bad is Oblivion and is a giant serpent.
Dude, the symbolism is cooking, man. Jeez, I again didn't even put that together, but it's literally right in my freaking face.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun.
Mhm.
And we didn't redesign Oblivion as a serpent. That was Ickman. And we're like,
Yeah,
yeah, and we found a way to link that,
it
like,
fits.
yeah, it fits. So it's like there must be a reason why, this must be the reason why Eternity chose Storm. This must be a
Hmm.
reason why Eternity has an interest in Storm gods. Maybe they are better trained at fighting serpents. And
Hmm.
if you notice, the last battle he lost to Oblivion was 3 billion years ago.
Yeah.
But the first appearance of a storm god was 1 billion years ago. So we know
Ooh,
that storm
okay.
gods came after his last loss. So it's
Hmm.
like, you know what? I'm tired of losing. So time to come up with something, and that something
Hey,
must have been a storm god, and
damn.
he trained them on how to beat serpents and everything. And if you also notice in issue 7, what was the creature that Storm was supposed to fight before the Storm god showed up?
A
It was
serpent.
a giant snake. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. Yes, 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 yes. Everything you just said, yes. I love it. Give me 14 more of them right now. I again, it's the way you're playing this, dude, is just so smart, and it really is just I don't know how you do it with again the real mythology as well as Marvel mythology, and having it all fit together is mind is blown. But I mean, personal question again, really quickly. So 3 billion years ago, Eternity's last battle with Oblivion, and you are obviously well more versed in this than I am. But how long has the seventh? Or no, we're in the eighth cosmos now. How long has the eighth cosmos been around? Not three
I
billion years, or
I have no idea. I've
I
mostly
was
been
to say that
following
could be an interesting thing.
yeah, I think uh to be honest, I've been gravitating closely more towards, the Koi, again, Marvel also has its own mythologies and different mythologies, and I've been gravitating to more towards, the Quasar ones, and trying to treat most of these entities as non-changing, and also trying
Mhm.
to make this as very new reader friendly.
Mhm.
And I noticed that when it comes to, the whole eighth cosmos, seventh cosmos thing, um, a seasoned readers love it, but
It gets
it
murky
tends to
real quick.
push. Yeah, so like, I think I'm going to stay away from that
Mhm.
altogether. So I've not been touching on those entities at all. You
Mhm.
know, the um yeah, I've not been touching on most of those entities at all. So I've mostly been focusing on, like the simpler ones I can easily just see, like old Quasar comics, Fantastic Four comics, those entities you can easily just be like, oh yeah, Phoenix, Eternity, Never Queen, Oh, and they're all siblings and children of the one above all. And it's easier, so that when you now start building your complex stories on them, it's easier to follow than if it's like, oh yeah, this person existed, in the seventh cosmos, but this person just came in the eighth cosmos, why Phoenix has been since the first cosmos, and so it's I think it becomes more difficult to follow, especially when we've been even told that,
Yeah.
when we're coming into this, we were told that we should stay off multiverse things. Like, let's stay in the same universe. So it's like, yeah, if you're staying in the same universe, we would not, and we're not going outside into multiverse things. Yeah, we would not need all that thing. So I've not really been bothering myself too much with it.
I mean, like I said, that can get very, very needlessly complex very, very quickly. And I think it's a smart move, like you said, sticking to like, okay, let's stick with the children of one above all. We'll start there, right? Because it can get
Yeah.
really kind of, like you said, messy when we're going in. So I mean, that kind of answers my. I was going to ask you, just as a comic nerd, if this could possibly lead to the death of the ninth cosmos, because it seems, I mean, the Black Winter devoured the sixth cosmos. So, and now we know there's multiple of them. So the
the
cosmos seem like they're in trouble.
the big threat that you can see, which I think might be bigger, is the one above all safe.
Oh shit, dude! How you gonna drop that on me? How you gonna drop that bomb on me like that? No, knowing that you can't elaborate on it. How can you do that to me?
so
Oh man,
so
I
thinking of,
cannot.
oh, is the cosmos safe?
This
I don't
is
even think
getting
it's that. I
crazy.
think it's
But
the one above all safe. Yeah.
yeah, honestly, at that point, who cares about the cosmos? Because then there's not going to be anything. But oh man, I have to reel myself back in here. So let's bring us back just a little bit to Earth. So this last issue we just had, issue number 8, brings Storm back down to Earth in a move that took me by surprise, but in the best way possible. Because we've been talking about storm gods, eternity, oblivion, the end of universes, and now we're coming back. We're coming back down to Earth. Storm is
Mm-hmm.
having to deal with some earthly human bullshit. And like, dude, I
Mm-hmm.
got a freaking eternal storm god to worry about right now. I don't have time for this. But she gets picked up by the feds, man. She gets locked down for what was it? Something, what she did something
um
again. It's like we're
obstruction
dealing with so much
obstruction
big
of
stuff. I don't even
justice.
remember what she did, because it's like who can, like it's
Obstruction
like,
of justice.
oh yes, she let Xavier escape. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Manhunt. So she facilitated Xavier's escape in Manhunt, which I mean, I'm not gonna say that's a good thing either, but it's like, come on, we're going over this. So as a storyteller, as your, the pacing of the book, I guess you could say, I thought it was a really smart move to kind of bring us back just for a little bit before we really, break everything open in Thunder War. So what can you tell us about Storm's time on Earth? And I know it's going to be kind of short-lived. You talked about how next issue, issue 9, we are going to be seeing Storm in jail, but not going to, Limbo's gonna be coming into play. Eternity's gonna be showing its face, its many faces, if you would. So, what can you tell us about this little, how you say, transition before we get, like I said, to the real explosive stuff?
I think one thing I can say is, don't underestimate the feds. I think we've been thinking that, oh yeah, we've been thinking, oh yeah, the Thunder Gods, they're very dangerous, and I think we're underestimating the feds, so yeah, so that's, I think, the first thing I would like to say is don't underestimate them.
I am.
Um, so because they're going to play a very, very big role in issue 10, and you won't see it coming. You won't see it coming at all. But it's also how, as a storyteller too, bringing things back to show that she isn't just this goddess that is detached from the world, you know, and when we usually say that, sometimes you only mean it's like, oh, emotional connection, like, oh yeah, she's this goddess, but she still loves humanity, and it's not just that. It's the fact that she has subjected herself to the rules of man. Those are also part of those things, and it's the fact that even though, if she wanted to, she could destroy the planet, she still has to be subjected to, yeah,
Mhm.
we think you did something wrong and I'm going to lock you up. And she's like, okay, I'll stay, you know. And it's trying to explore that side of her character. That's one. And two is,
Mhm.
even though it seems like the story is splitting into like three things, the battle with Oblivion, the battle with Adad, and the battle with the Feds, it's going to be very shocking when everything joins up together into just one big battle in Storm 9. And that's why it's been fun for me when people are like, why is it going in three separate directions? And I'm like, okay, you're going to see when everything culminates together into just one single, and you see that everything is connected. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I made that move. I want to do some character exploration through these stories. I want to remind people that, Storm is a big planner. Storm is a mastermind. She's been a leader of the X-Men, so she's always known how to, you know navigate and use our environment in against our enemies. Like, that's when her and Cyclops had their first battle. That's actually won. They didn't even have our powers.
Mhm.
Basically using the environment against Cyclops. And so we're going to see all that skill that Storm has. Storm doesn't necessarily use her powers in this next issue. We get to see who she is as a character and how she can come up on top with just a mind. So that story does that while still building up to this epic Thunder War that starts in issue 10 to 12. So yeah, that's so it's a fun direction to take. And um I also think it's not going to be as fun if everything just keeps going up, 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 up. You
Mhm.
um, Roller coasters are not fun if it's just zoom. They are fun when it goes up, down, up, down. So yeah, and I
Yeah.
want this to be a roller coaster ride. So it's nice to just have that one that just cools down before everything goes
Mhm.
crazy.
Well, and I think it just speaks to one of the strengths of the book, at least for me, and something I think you just do so masterfully is you never pass up the opportunity to show who Aurora is. And like whether it's in the midst of a huge battle or like you said, in a conversation with the feds and willingly, because I mean, what prison's gonna hold Storm? Like, come on now, be for
Exactly.
real. Yeah, so it's
Before-
like, but it's like you took that opportunity to show her character in the sense like she will go because she knows, like you said, while she is all powerful, she has to show others, like she has to lead by example, right? And
yeah.
so I that's something I think you just do so well in this book. You always take that opportunity and you never sacrifice that opportunity for spectacle. Like, while we do have plenty of spectacle, it feels
Plenty.
like, yeah, more than enough. It feels like you never are willing to sacrifice the opportunity to again showcase who Aurora is besides her superpowers. And I think that's really what is the beating part of this book. And I think it really is what translates so well. And I think, like you said, having the roller coaster go down a bit, I think it just makes everything more impactful. So when right now, we see her dealing with these, again, kind of human seemingly, because you just kind of alluded to that all of this will converge into one thing. But again, to do this, and I just think lovely. And again, one of the reasons why this book is so as good as it is. But before we wrap up here, so Storm's in prison, Thunder War is coming, things are crazy. Things are absolutely insane, if you would. So as we are getting to this, what do you hope that fans can like really take away? Again, we're talking about Aurora's character right now. So besides how powerful she is, besides how she faces this insurmountable problem, what do you hope that readers will take away about Aurora as opposed to just like the avatar of eternity?
Yeah. Yeah, like what you were saying before, I think people are going to read, this book and realize that there were so many pages, so many issues that she wasn't even wearing the superhero costume. But I don't think people notice that firsthand, because it seems like there's a
Yeah.
lot of action, but like it wasn't that much, but they just are very strong when they happen. Um, when I was doing, no, when I was approached to write this story and when I was doing my research, one of the things I found particularly endearing about Storm, which I never get tired of saying, is the fact that she grew up poor, after her parents died. But you still see her being compared to Emma Frost a lot because of how she carries herself. You know, that's someone else that grew up rich, and you you see how she has gone through so much heartbreak, from different men in our lives, like Forge, Black Panther, everything. And yet, if you see her talk poetically, you're like, oh my god, this person has never been heartbroken before. Even when you hear her talk about T'Challa, you would not know that
Mm-hmm.
they've gone through turbulent times before. So she's someone that she has gone through hardship. She has gone through tough times. She has gone through so many things, but it never shapes her negatively. You know, you would not see her and think, oh, this person has gone through all these things. And that's the goal for this series. We are seeing her go through all these turbulent things, even her becoming like, an avatar and a host for eternity has not been roses, has not been a bed of roses. It's been challenges after challenges, and I want to be like at the end of everything, as much as you would expect all these challenges to push her in this direction, she's going to say, no, I'm going this way. And that's who Storm is. And that's what I expect people to take away by the end of Thunder War.
Well, I think you're already succeeding in that, my friend, because again, this is the best depiction of Storm that I can think of. We've talked last time. Admittedly, I have not read every single Storm issue like you probably have, but to me, like this is just. We actually just talked about this last week in regards to Steve Orlando and Scarlet Witch, and I said like he just gets Wanda. And like to me, like when I'm reading that, like it's like that's Wanda Maximoff. And I feel the same way when I read your Storm series, just like this is Aurora. Like this is who I imagine in my head, like how she's depicted to be, and like just the way you write her dialogue and present her and the beautiful artwork of the pages and the splash pages, it is feels like Aurora to me, even though I like don't have that expert, knowledge. It's
Yeah,
almost like
I
if someone
understand what you mean.
it's like if someone showed me a picture of Santa Claus. Like, yeah, I might not know the whole history of Santa Claus, but I know that's Santa. It's like
Yeah.
this is so like I don't know why, but it feels right. It feels true. And again, I just have to tip my hat off to you, my friend, because I think not only is this series amazing, but just the way in which you're crafting it and the things you are introducing. We talked about, just the creativity you're bringing to the Marvel universe as a whole, not even just Storm, is just it's absolutely incredible. And as a fan, being able to witness it as it unfolds is absolutely amazing. And before we get out of here and I throw it off to you to tell everyone what's coming, where you're at these days, my last question I have for you is sticking with Aurora's character. So in this last issue, I saw some people were kind of like, which people are just freaking weirdos, and but they were kind of like questioning, like, oh, so since when is Storm immune to telepathic control? And you were really quick with the, well, actually, in X-Men, whatever, whatever. So obviously you are well versed and very well researched. And so when you're tackling a character like Storm, who is like iconic, has such a long history, how do you go about like not necessarily updating her power? Because again, this is a power that she's always had, but like just like, oh, that's something someone hasn't really touched on a while. I'm gonna use that. Like, does that just purely come from hours and hours of research, or is that also some creative liberties there?
Yeah, that's the very odd thing with a character like Storm. It's a it's a combination of two things. Number one, I'm a newer creator, and also Storm. So I kind of already expected this going into the character. I know every single thing I do is going to be like, oh, Mary Sue, Mary Sue, Mary Sue, Mary Sue. It's often done with female characters, and especially female characters of color. So it's that thing. Even Dwayne
Yeah.
McDuffie had mentioned it before that if you write a story where Daredevil beats Thor, it's going to be like, oh my god, Daredevil was so creative, you know. But if it's Black Panther beats Thor, it's like, oh my god, they're trying to make this guy too OP, you know. And that's like, and he
Mm-hmm.
said that like years before anything. I don't even, God knows how young I was then, you know. And so I kind of knew that going into this.
So
So the
before the
very
world
odd
went
thing,
absolutely crazy.
yeah. So, and the very odd thing is, even though, you know, I've been accused of, oh my God, you've been, doing, they call it power scaling, but it's power creep, they want to say. I've been giving a power creep and,
Mm.
all these things. And it's like, I've actually, throughout this entire run, I've not given Storm any power feats that she hasn't done previously in the comic. I've been doing that
Mm-hmm.
deliberately, just so that when these allegations come, fans can easily say, just go to this comic, just go to this comic. She already did this in this comic, you know. Is the atmospheric pressure already did it in Ali Wins run? Is it the one that, oh, she
Mm-hmm.
shot an arrow, a lightning arrow from one part of the content to the other? X-Men worlds apart, she can control weather from the other side of the planet, you know, different things. I every single thing I've been doing, even the Eternal Storm thing. It's like, yeah, go to Rogue Storm, written by Chris Claremont. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
Eternal Storm. You know, Link to Eternity, go to Fantastic Four by Dwayne McDuffie. I had to do that constantly for every move I would make. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little tiring creatively, because that means, you
I could
can't create
imagine.
any new things because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also been fun in its own way, because even though there are things that are steeped in history, I get to use them in ways that readers did not expect. You know, or when you hear about, oh, Storm is immune to, telepathy. You would think, oh, she's going to fight a telepath. That's the only reason a writer will bring it up. And I just brought it up in an investigation where it's used to basically incriminate her further. To be like, yeah, this is proof that you did this by your own will, so you are under arrest. You know, it's used that way, so it's oh, that the fact that she can teleport, she's been using it in intimidating ways, teleport into Dr. Doom's lair with lightning and other stuff. But this time she had to use it because she was so scared that the Thunder Gods were going to kill her, and seeing Storm that scared, retreating, and it's something that comes up later, she faces off one of these Thunder Gods, I won't say who, and that one makes jest of her and says something like, I am not the thunder god who flees, because that's the name they've given her, the thunder god who flees. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. So, you see all those things, using it in fresh, interesting ways, and so that's what I've been doing mostly, and it's been fun. It's been fun in its own unique way too.
Yeah, I mean, I that's another thing I really love about the book and just you as a creator, because you will not be caught without having your P's and Q's, because you have obviously thoroughly researched this, and anything you use, you have a very clear, like you said, oh, go read this. Oh, really? Storm didn't do that? Well, why don't you ask Chris Claremont of, X-Men number what? So I love that, but I also think it is a very kind of I get lack for a better word, messed up as well, because
Yeah,
like you just said, you have to do that because people are freaking weirdos and they're just assholes, for lack of a better word. So it's a dual-sided coin, you know what I mean? Like, again, while you want to be knowledgeable, you obviously want to, it's also, again, messed up that you're not given the same uh what grace
grace.
as maybe some other creators.
I think it's natural. It's something they do to new creators. So it's something
Mhm.
that I know it's not permanent,
Yeah.
as you have more books under your belt, that trust comes and all those
Mhm.
things come. So and then it's those kind of criticisms just die down automatically. So it doesn't, so yeah, like now, an example is Jonathan Iqbal can just come now and say, "Oh, this is the new origin of the universe," and we're all cool with it. Changes stuff.
Mhm.
And it's because he's proven himself over the years to be like, yeah, if he does this change, it's because of good reason, and it's going to pay it off in a beautiful manner. But as a new creator, when you want to do that change, you are going to get a lot of pushback. Like, why would you change that? And that's
Mhm.
because of the fear that how are we sure I'm not going to like mess it up and make things worse. So yeah, so that's the thing. So it's understandable. So
Yeah,
it's
comes with the
just,
territory sometimes.
yeah. So as you get more books under your belt, it's
Mhm.
the trust. You build more of the trust. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, I'll tell you, I trust you complicitly. I don't think there's anything you could do at this point to make me not trust you, because again, your writing, your creativity, it's honestly some of the best work that's out on the stands right now, Marvel or
Thank
DC.
you.
And it's not even just my opinion. Sales have been showing it too. Storm has consistently been in the top 10 like every single week. I mean, this book is going gangbusters, and I just cannot be more happy for you, for Storm as a character, and it's all just so exciting. And I also can't thank you enough for coming and sitting down with me today. I wish I could keep you for hours. We could talk mythology just all freaking day long, but unfortunately you have to keep writing this stuff, and I got to keep thinking about Eternity and Oblivion and Black Winners, so we can have another interesting discussion next time. But until next time, where plug yourself, man, where can the people find you? So we have Storm number 9 that is coming I
Next
don't
week,
think this week, probably next week. Yeah, so that is going to be June 4th.
first week of
Everyone,
June. Yeah.
yes, June 4th, pick up Storm number 9. Thunder War truly kicks off in Storm number 10. But other than that, is there anything else coming down the pipeline? Any little nuggets you'd like to give to fans? And also, again, where can people find you these days?
Yeah, so like you said, the big thing is Thunder War. That starts with Storm 10. It's going to be epic. It's going to be crazy. It's a book not to miss. Help us promote it. Tell your friends. Tell everyone. If you're not reading the Storm book, start at issue 10. See, you're going to definitely like it. Be evangelic about it. There's X-Men Hellfire Vigil. We have a little Storm 5-pager there. It's fantastic. It's lovely. Eternity is there. Storm is there. Margot is there. It's a very cool story. Um, it might bring tears to some people's eyes even. Um, and yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky and on Instagram. So yeah, that's Ayodele Murewa.
Shout out my boy Maggot. I had questions about Maggot, but unfortunately we'll have to get to him next time. But Murewa, again, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Again, everyone watching, listening to this, pick up Storm number 9 on June 4th. And pick up Thunder War, people. Even again, like Murewa said, even if you're not reading Storm, pick it up for the hell of it. It's going to be a fun ass time. And just to clarify for the people watching and listening, would you say that issue 10 is a jumping on point for people? Like if they haven't been reading Storm up to this point, can they jump in easily on 10?
Yeah, they can jump in 0 10. It's built that way. It's like
Okay.
it's like you're reading. It's like you're reading Blood Hunt 1. It's like you're reading Secret Wars
Mm-hmm.
1. It's built like an event. It's like you're reading Thunder War Part 1.
So that just means, everyone, again, you do not have any excuse to not pick up Storm issue 10. I will be checking receipts, so be sure to pick it up. And obviously, we will be talking about it here. I cannot contain my excitement about it. So you can follow me, follow the show, and you will hear all about it. And obviously, again, go follow Murewa, pick anything that has his name on it. You can catch us every Thursday for our reviews for the week. You can also catch Agents of Fandom at agentsfandom.com, Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter. And you can also, we got so many shows. I know The Last of Us just ended. You can go check out our review for that last episode, and pretty much anything you're watching on TV, we have an episode for you. So go check that out as well. But until then, until me and Murewa get to sit down next time, and until next Thursday, we will see y'all next time.